Hello, I think I'm live here. Um, okay, well, some technical challenges here because YouTube updated their interface and their configuration, and so I had a little trouble figuring out how all that worked. So I believe that I'm live now, and um, we're just going to see how this goes. I am public. I have a couple of viewers. Great. So everything's working. I am doing a live demo tonight of painting this baby girl, and I hope I didn't throw too many people off the scent here because I put a link in YouTube, and I'm not sure that link is actually where you need to go. So let me just check real quick to see if it gets me there. Um, this goes here. If I go to my story in Instagram, that's what I'm just checking out right here. If I go to the story, it says swipe up. So for me, I just go to um, view link, and this live event will begin in a few moments. Okay, it says one waiting. Um, yeah, so maybe I have to update the link. Um, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go live on Instagram for a second. I'm glad you guys are willing to bear with me. And my cat is going nuts. So um, let's go back to Instagram. I'm going to go live on Instagram just for a minute. If I can remember how to do that. Okay, live on Instagram. Hello, people out there on Instagram. I should turn this camera around so you can see me. I'm currently live on YouTube. I had to kill the link that I started with. So if you want to see me painting a live demo there, go to my channel. It's AJALPER, AJ Alper. And the link from the previous story is going to send you the wrong place. So I just want to let you know. Maybe I can just set this down while I'm painting so you can see me talking. If you want to actually watch me painting, then the best thing to do is go to YouTube. And I'm going to grab my brushes here. I think the next demo I do, I'll have it figured out, so I'll have three cameras so I can show um, me. Well, actually, I'm showing me on YouTube, but I'll be able to show my palette too. And I'm going to get started painting. How's that? Um, so, missing a couple colors here. I use a high key palette. They 6 playbacks, 2 concurrent viewers. Okay, so I have 2 viewers here. I haven't discouraged too many people from leaving yet. So um, with my disorganization, I usually do these around 9 o'clock in the evening Eastern time. I decided to try to do this one at 8, and I clearly did not give myself enough time to get everything set up. Since I haven't done these in a long time, it does take a while to sort of get the feel for it. And let's see, maybe what I could do here. Let's see if I can get this set up so that people on Instagram can also see me paint. Wouldn't that be easier? Um, but I do need to keep it charging here. Hold on. Hold on while I do this. There's my charging cable. Okay, fantastic. This is not how you want to do a painting demo, by the way. It is not, really not. No. Okay, so if you want to be able to see, let's turn this around again. Okay, that's the painting. That's the photo that I'm doing a painting of. Let's see if I can, if you just give me a second. I'm going to take the charger out now. I'm going to set up my, turn that around so you can see me again. This should be a lesson on how to not set up for a painting demo. Um, but I have 5 people here with me. That's great on YouTube, and I think I have 15 here on Instagram. Did I break my? Was this my phone holder? Oh, it's like completely broken. Um, wow, I really did it this time. Oh yeah, that did fall apart. This one I need things to work. Um, oh, there it is. Okay, I'm not far off the trail here. I swear. If I put this here, you guys could only see what I'm attempting to do here. Yeah, I know, Pasha. I know. Okay, I might be able to do this here. Okay, just bear with me. It's going to be 3 minutes. I'll have everything set up. You're welcome to ask me any questions in the chat or the feed on Instagram or YouTube. I'm happy to answer them while I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing here. Tightening up. So I've got another camera mount here. If I can get it set up, then we'll have 2 things that are viewing my painting. And my phone's about to die too. Everything is happening here. Okay, so if I do this right, turn this around. Oh, fantastic. I think I'm just getting partially excited for something that's almost working. Okay, we're close. We're getting close. Okay, so no questions yet there. Any questions in? Okay, let me see. Wow. Um, it's a real common name in Russia. Oh, Pasha. Yeah. I guess it means like prince or something like that. Okay. I think if I do this right and if I can get this, whoa. Sorry, guys. Tighten, please. Okay, if I turn this around, then you should be able to kind of glimpse what I'm painting here. I can zoom in a little bit. Okay, I think that's going to be good enough for you guys. I'm not going to really be able to answer the Instagram people's questions, but I can at least start to get painted here. It's only 10 minutes in, not so painful. Where's my favorite brush? Okay, here it is. Okay, so on to the show. Like I said, I'm going to put something in to say, ask me questions here. And okay, so I got my paper towels handy, and then onto the paint. This is going to make a really weird time-lapse video. So last time I did the initial lay-in, don't forget to get the camera hooked up here. Let's see. Are we charging? We are charging. I know I'm going to bump that camera, the phone, and it's just going to go flying because it's not really that securely screwed in here. You can't see my palette for this one, but I just have sort of wanted kind of a light tint to start off the drawing. So I'm just going to indicate quickly where I see her in the frame, and then I'm going to start to take some measurements. So you're not going to really see me measure on here, but I'm got her photo at 100% the percentage or same size, and just sort of indicate so that I have something to measure to. So the side of her face is here, her ear is probably up here. Get some quick measurements for the tip of her ear. So the top of her ear is there. So that means the top of the other, her head's tilted just slightly to the right. Take another measurement from the other cheek. Good. Top of head. Okay. And then her jawline is very shallow here. So gotta be careful of that. And then her shoulders cut in right about like that. Come down. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I can get my, might be possible to get my Instagram screen up on my screen using QuickTime Player. That sometimes works. So let's just see real quick if I can get see that too. If everything's cooperating. Close. Okay, wow, I can see it. Great. Let's move the volume thing out of the way. So if you do want to ask me questions in Instagram too, now I can see that screen. So just going to, this part is, it's more about measuring than it is about drawing. It's just trying to find the landmarks where they start and end. And I often move things around a lot as I'm working. Okay, and then to the measuring from just the corners of the eyes to the sides. And then it's important for me to get the height. This is where I usually screw up. And you can see right there, I have the eyes so high. They're really about here, if that makes sense. I need to double check this this image in Photoshop so that sometimes I change it to my monitor to be 82 pixels per inch. Yeah, so I have this wrong. I don't think that should change anything though. If I'm, oh no, don't resample. Okay, it didn't really change anything except the measurement markers on the grid. So this is where it's saying the top of her head. That is actually true. So my brain wants to put those eyes so much higher. So it's a good thing I'm measuring because I would really screw that up if I was just doing it by, guesstimating by sight. That would not serve me very well. And I think that ear needs to be lowered too. So here's a lot of swirls of the hair. She has a pretty high forehead here. Okay, like I said. So usually when I start off painting babies, they look like old men to begin with. And then as I get a little more precise, then the character of the baby starts to come out a little bit better. Okay, you guys all with me still? Great. Oh, you guys in YouTube oh, wow, I have no one in YouTube following me. They all jumped off. Okay, well that's fine. I don't need any YouTube people. If you do want to watch me on YouTube, you can see me, my face talking, and you can see the reference photo. The channel is AJ Al. Well, the channel is AJ Alper, AJALPER, and you should see the live demo come up. I don't know. I haven't done a live so long on YouTube. Maybe they don't tell my subscribers anymore that I'm them doing a live. I need a little bit of red in my paint here to get sort of more of the orange colors that I'm seeing in the forehead. That is not really the color I was looking for. Okay, so at least I'm doing double live here, which I think maybe is the right long-term solution, is to do live in YouTube, and then I get everything captured. If someone wants to see the reference photo as I'm painting, that's a better place to do that with the horizontal format, and allows me to do more than one camera at once. Instagram is a vertical format, so the most you can really have on there generally is, let me see, straighten this out a little bit. Oh, it's so swarmy. This is so loose. I really did break it, I think. Um, yeah, it's none of it's tightening up. Yep, I'll have to fix that after the show. Okay, just keep on painting. So I am just go a step cooler to paint sort of the socket of her eyes. That's not cooler. I want really cool. That's better. So that's not really the color that I want, but it's just pushing me in a cooler direction to begin with, and I can work that out later. And then I'm just going to indicate a little bit of where where those irises sit, just to give me a sense. Now the light side of her face, meaning it's just a bit overexposed, so I'm not seeing a whole lot of detail there. Let's get a nice up a blue, which is a little bit of phthalo blue and white for the whites of her eyes. And if you can see in the photo, for those who are watching, oh, I have 11 people now in YouTube. Hoo-hoo. It scared me a little bit when it said there was 0 people. Um, okay, and I see there's some people chatting. And I have a question in Instagram and I have a question in YouTube. So let's see. Way better LG feed, LOL. Okay. Um, oh, someone said it's better than the Instagram feed. What mediums am I using? I'm using Gamsol and safflower oil. And the question in, oh, I have to do the question here. Question in Instagram. Okay, your camera view is so spot on frontal. How do you have it not interfere with your painting? Oh, well, I have it right around my chest, and so I'm a little bit above it, both the phone and it's a webcam. And if I thought about it, it probably is in the way. I'm just choosing not to let it distract me. Oh, so okay, and I decided to be on camera myself. I don't know. I usually show the palette, um, but it's really hard to tell what I'm doing in terms of color mixing. I'm moving so fast, dabbing at so many different. Watching me um, virtually, you can't really get that much information about how I mix colors. I think if you were sort of live in my studio and I could talk through what I'm doing and you could see about how much paint I'm actually getting on the brush and how I'm applying it, you probably would get a lot more. Um, I'm just, I'm not very focused at the moment. I am just throwing in paint just very generally, and I'm hoping that I've got things close enough into the right place that adjusting is not going to be that hard. So I do need to bring her lips down lower. I'm going to do that now. Her mouth is very low in her face. And let's try again with the whites, with the sclera, the whites of her eyes. I know that's a little bit too dark still, so maybe I'll just pop in a little white in there for first. I'm going to lose the color when I do that, but I need it. I need the values to be right first. Okay, and right now I'm using an angled brush. I thought there was another term for it. It was like a blender or something. I forgot what they were. calling it in the packet of brushes I got. But her eyes need to be tilted a little bit more. So tilted meaning her head is tilted slightly to the right. So I need this eye to come up higher. So let's just adjust that. I can measure it. Sorry about my arm in front of the camera. Okay, that's better. So I'm going to paint underneath this eye. Okay, so this is me not very focused. When I'm very focused, when I'm working kind of in a very exact manner, then every color and every brush stroke is I'm trying to get it spot on. Right now, I'm just having a little bit of fun. I think just relaxed painting and talking, not really worrying too much about it yet. But at some point, I'll have to tighten this puppy up. I'm just hoping I can get the painting to a point where I can start to see things better. If you have enough um, paint down and you sort of have landmarks where you can see them, then you can start to look back and forth between the reference and the painting to see where things are off. But until you have a fair amount of paint down, it's really hard to do that. Just going to put some indication in for her nostrils for now. Let's get a little bit of red on that. Gotta hold my breath a little bit while I do this part. That's just to give me an idea. Okay, now I can start to see things, I think. And I'm just using the edge or the point of this angled brush to do sort of medium size detail. So it's not that fine a point. Okay, looks like I've scared some people away. I had about 15 people there in YouTube, and now I'm back down to 9. So thank you 9 for sticking with me. Um, Let me see. Someone asked, why is painting to get a good likeness? Well, it's just because they have little features that are all bunched together, and the tendency is to spread things out. When things are close, your brain wants to spread them out, and so it is really being very exact about the relationship between things. So that does make it hard. Let me see. Um, Someone says, no, it feels more connected for sure with you on cam. Okay, so that's someone who came over for Instagram. Um, there's a reason you prefer a cooler palette in most of your paintings. I don't know. I never really think about it as being a cooler palette. Um, I'm just generally trying to match the colors that I see in the photo and not really thinking in terms so much in terms of warms and cools, but sometimes my brain switches over into color temperature. But just generally, it's more about getting doing color matching, and which I think I'm pretty good at. But sometimes I'll at the end I'll look at the color in the reference and then the color that I have in the painting, and it'll be so wildly off. Her eyes are just a little bit like a gray bluish green. So I'm going to see if I can get some of that color in. I'm going to come in with the sort of base color, and then I'll put in the darks and the accents when I get a little bit further along. And I can see I'm not tilting her nose on her head enough. Her head's tilted, but her nose doesn't feel tilted. So I'm going to need to sort of start to correct for that, bring her nostrils over so that it does feel like it is. Sorry, I've just really disfigured her, but that's okay. All that stuff I can clean up. I think one thing important, if you're going to do alla prima painting, which is wet into wet, you have to have confidence that you can put something down and then you have the ability to paint over it, move it around, change it. Because if you don't have that sense of confidence, then and you don't have the ability to come in with a new color then you're kind of you're going to paint yourself into a corner where everything starts to get muddy. And if a lot of times if I'm not getting the color that I want from a paint stroke, then I go back and I reload my brush and I try it again until it's where I want it to be. And I think that's where a lot of people get themselves into trouble, is that they just they don't start off with the right color on the brush, and then they keep on hacking away at it, and it just gets muddier and muddier and muddier the more paint they throw down. So unless you have the intent to be able to overcome the color that is on your panel with new paint, then it's not going to work out for you very well. So I'm going to take another measurement, see if I'm getting the placement of the nose. That looks better now. So the edge of her nose. Then I have some white on her cheek, or light, I should say, a light area. And then this comes under. Okay. So I'm about a half hour in, and you can see I'm already starting to establish some things, even if they're not perfectly placed, to get values and colors and placement. There's a little bit of purple here underneath her lips. Let's get that in. And let's start to get the shape of her lips a little bit better. And you can see her teeth. She has this really interesting shape to her mouth that kind of swings up in the middle. And then let's get a little bit of that separation of the lips. And I'm just going to do a real light indication of where I'm seeing her teeth, just to kind of get a feel of it. I'm going to have to switch to a smaller brush soon for some of these shapes, because I'm just kind of butchering it with this bigger brush. So where is that detail brush? I know you're here. Come on! You never can find the thing you want when you're looking for it. Yeah, hi Pasha. I know you want attention, you want to be let outside. So about at the beginning of the summer, we put a gate on our deck, so that we could let Pasha hang out outside on our deck. And he loved it. This was like life changing for him. He's about 12 years old now, and we generally don't let him outside. He's not an outdoor cat. And then at some point, he figured it. So even though we put a gate, he figured out how to jump the gate, or how to jump the fence, walk around the top of the fence, and then get off the deck and get down into the yard. And usually he likes to do that because he likes to eat grass. It's his thing. He eats grass, and then he comes back in the house, and then he throws up. He's like a college kid. Anyway, so once he started jumping the fence, then we couldn't let him outside anymore. And so now he's just crazy. He wants to go outside all the time, and we don't let him. So that is a big problem. So let's get more of the character of the eyes here. We're seeing her look up at us just a slightly. Okay, and then I am going to redo the nostrils, I swear. That one's, they're a little bit smaller than I indicated them. And then the wings of her nostrils come down a little bit lower than the division in her septum there. So her septum comes down to about here, and then the bottoms of the nostrils. So the shape of people's noses really change a lot from person to person, and some people have the septum higher, and others it's lower. I think it's more classical for the septum to be lower than the wings of the nose. That doesn't really feel like it's in the right place yet, but just going with it. And she's got a little bit of a pursed smile here. There we go. And this is where I have to come in with a little bit of white to carve into the shape of the face a little bit so that I can see where her contour is. That's going to help me see the face a lot better. So one of the things it's important to capture the characteristic of the face is more about the shape of the head than painting any particular feature. If you can get the shape of the head right, you're about halfway there. And I think where people kind of have problems is they never get the shape of the head right, and they're trying to get the likeness to work, and it's not really going to work that well if you hadn't really gotten that piece to work for you. Let's tuning up, restating the shape of her eyes a little bit. And I have to make her cheeks lower here. So I'm not sure I'm showing you anything that's going to help you guys in your work, because I am just really painting in a very disorganized way tonight. But I still think I'm getting there. I'm getting to the place I need to get, and somewhat efficiently. Okay. Yeah. So this is a real important trick, is constantly squinting when you're looking at the photo and you're looking at your painting, because that helps take out any detail and helps you see sort of the general shapes and colors so that you can see quickly where things need to be adjusted. Okay, that's starting to feel a little bit better. I need to block in her hair just so I don't have that just massive white above her forehead. And her hair, there's a lot of pink and a bit of yellow going on there, but it's all very light in value. And then there's just white. The photo, the background of the photo is just very white. There isn't any real indication of color there. Okay, that's helping me a little bit. Let's do some more measuring. Okay, yeah, so I have to cut into the lower part of the face even more. So her face is somewhat, um, it's narrower in around the cheeks and gets wider around the forehead. And so I have to be mindful of that to get that to work. Let's get a measurement from the bottom of her chin. Yeah, I can pull her chin up even higher, which I'm going to do, because I just think it just needs to be tighter in that area. Paint her neck in to help define where the chin is. Okay, been ignoring all your questions. Sorry about that. Let me see. Um, What white do you prefer using? I use titanium white. It's very opaque, has a high coverage ability, so it's useful in painting over other colors. Um, Painting a picture of my kid around the same age, so really appreciate the help. Oh, good. How long would this portrait like this typically take you? Well, the demo tonight's going to be about 2 hours. It's probably going to take me about 10 hours in total to do all the refinements that I need of this. Um, when it's a commission, it does take me a bit longer. If I was just doing it for myself, then I wouldn't worry so much about likeness, and then I would just be trying to create areas of interest. And so those are kind of two different ideas. Because I can see when I just do practice portraits, I'm not really. I start off going for a likeness, but by the end, it doesn't matter if it looks like the person or not. When you're doing a commission, the likeness is kind of important generally to the client. They don't want to to commission you to do a painting that doesn't look like the person that you're painting. Just saying. I'm just saying if that isn't obvious. So right here along the edge, I've defined the edge of her cheek, but what you don't see is it coming towards you in space yet because I don't have the right values there. Let's pull the corner of this eye in and then clean up around it. So that's a little tighter. This corner of the eye comes up higher. Something like that. And I do want sort of that redness around the tip of her nose. That's going to help define the form, set off the highlight. Now, generally with a photo that's this light, I will adjust the levels. I still might do that a little bit so that I can see the forms better and have a little bit more um, range of values so it becomes easier to paint. When you have something that's such a narrow value range, then you have to have so much more control over your values to get things to read. So adjusting things in Photoshop first often can save you a lot of aggravation if you don't have a lot of control over values. That said, if you have something that has very subtle values and you have really good value control, that can make for a really beautiful painting with all the subtleties that you might see. That's too black. So just so you know, I have black in my palette. If anyone is curious, I use chromatic black. It's actually a mixture of other colors on my palette. And so there is actually no true black. It's just a black made out of complements quinacridone red and phthalo emerald, to be exact. And it's a color that's produced by Gamblin Colors, which is part of their artist series line. Okay, I hear my computer acting up, so someone says the camera view is spot on frontal. Okay, I already answered that question. Let's see if there were other. Oh yeah, there's lots of questions here in Instagram. Someone says hi. Are there specific colors? I really have a hard time with that. I use all the colors, but I use a whole lot of white. Do you get into the small details first and deal with the general shapes. Um, it depends on how I'm feeling tonight. I'm not getting into the small details, but sometimes I nail down the placement of the small details, and then I will work out from around that, and and that's a quick way of working. It requires a lot of concentration, which I don't have tonight. Someone says, "Hey, great work. For how long have you been painting?" I've been painting for a little bit over 30 years, maybe 32 years now, and I've been portrait painting for about 5 years. What is your advice for painting from life? Well, you asked the right guy because I paint from life about once every 5 years. Um, I think the last time I did it was at a local studio. I almost paint exclusively from photos now, and I work usually from photos of clients that I've never met, will never meet, haven't seen, and um, so you just have to do a fair amount of really studying the photo to get kind of the shape of things. Sometimes there's more than one photo, you get a little more information, and but I usually can get quite a bit out of just one photo. It's just by learning a bit about the anatomy and value structure and getting forms to turn in a similar fashion that you see in the photo, and also learning where it sort of fails in properly describing the anatomy, and then you have to come in with your own knowledge to paint it. I'm just throwing in a highlight in the eyes, so I have more to see where I am. There's sort of more of a purple blue shadow. I should call it gray maybe. Sort of the insides of her eyes here. Or maybe that's just dirt on my monitor. It's hard to tell sometimes. And I'm going to come in with a lot of white in here because it this is an area where it's pretty blown out, and I started to get a little bit too dark. And I'm still looking at sort of the large general shapes of things to make sure that I'm getting the character of the shape of her head. I can see I'm in the right place in some of these contours. What I'm missing is how they turn in space. She has some lovely blues coming in here if I can get them the right value that are help defining the side of the face. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, and then her ears go darker in here. I'm just going to lay down some of the color that I'm seeing, and then I can go back and refine this. Oh, and I see a little bit of that blue coming in here underneath her nose. Okay, got a lot of white on the brush, so I'm trying to get some of that specular highlight that runs up her nose, runs along the top edge. And I do see I have her mouth too low, so I'm going to work on swinging that up just a little bit. There's a little bit room for me to make her separation in her mouth a little bit higher and larger. There we go. So I have to overcome that black that I put down first to move her mouth up higher. So if I get a nice clean mixture of red, naphthol red and white, then I can come over on top of it, and it's going to mix a little bit, but after doing it a few times, then I get a much cleaner color eventually. And then I know I can go a little bit darker near the separation. And I'm going to come back in with the indication of her teeth, which is kind of a bluish gray. Just something like that, just so I can start to see it. And her lips come in a little tighter there. Okay, that's feeling a little bit better. I don't have her eyes quite right yet, but you know what? I'm going to grab my detail brush for a little while and see if I can nail down some of these, the placement of some of these things, so I can really start to see where things start and end. That's where eyelashes are. Corner of her eye here. Let's get the dark with a bit of red where her tear duct is. So there's tear duct, there's a shadow from the eyelid, there's lots of stuff that's going on that defines that lower edge. And then her eyebrows kind of just a slightly darker orange shade than the skin tones around it. Just rub things in a little bit. Okay, I make the sides of her forehead a little bit wider. Have them come up higher. And then I really want to get a sense of roundness to her head, and that is by showing value changes from one corner of her head to the other. Okay, let's see what questions I'm missing. I'm terrified of letting my cat outside because she might get fleas. Well, I worry about that too. Do you mix extra oil to your paint mixture all the top sitting here? This has this has safflower oil in it. Also, I have a can to the side that has my Gamsol that I'm constantly using to clean the brush. So between the Gamsol and the safflower oil, I'm constantly wetting the paints. I'm usually not using the thickness of the paint out of the tube. It's usually thinned quite a bit, and that you get a little more control because I'm not putting so much paint down all the time. It's more like I wouldn't say it's washes. The consistency of the paint is something like a creamy, milky consistency. And then if I need to paint on top of that, it's wet, but it doesn't have a whole lot of pigment in it. It may look like it, but the paint itself is somewhat thin. And then if I need to come over it, then I can use a little bit thicker paint and come right over that, and then I can easily start to change or affect the color. Need her cheeks to be darker. There's actually quite a bit of purple along the edge here. So if I go purple and darker, I can get that's change of value that I'm looking for. That's a little bit better. Again, I'm squinting so I can start to see things. this edge of her nostril, and the other one. And her nose gets much narrower at the bridge, so have to start to indicate that. Okay, I'm probably missing a ton of questions here on Instagram. Let's see. I think I answered that one about skin tones, and that one about general shapes or smaller shapes. I answered how long I've been painting for, and what is your advice from painting from life? Okay, I answered all of those. So I'm good on Instagram, unless you've asked me a question in the feed, and I probably will miss those. On YouTube, I will this video be available after this evening? Yes. So this automatically records to my channel afterwards, and then anyone who wants to watch it afterwards can. And I see a lot of what I've painted is feels like it's still quite a bit off, so I need to do quite a lot of adjusting before this thing starts to feel like it's tightening up. Just relaxed right now. I'm having a good time, so I'm just painting and enjoying it. And that's one thing that's really important, is just enjoy yourself when you're painting. I know I sound like Bob Ross when I talk like that, but if you're not enjoying it, then that's not going to serve you for the long term. Because if you really want to improve your painting skills or do this professionally, you better enjoy it. That's all I got to say. If you're beating yourself up all the time, or you're hating the process, and you're just looking for the success, maybe you want to know when you're going to sell some paintings and get big on Instagram, and you're not enjoying the process, then that's not going to work out very well. I'm just saying. I know that from my own personal life experience, because I've painted all kinds of different genres, different subject matter, and at some point, a lot of times I wasn't really enjoying it, and it just led to dead ends when you're not enjoying the process itself. So the key here, everybody, is paint what you love, paint it in a way that you enjoy, and that is 90% of the battle right there. Okay, I got some tip of the nose too. Just really got to get the shape of her nose working slowly. Hopefully some of these things are close enough to being in the right place that I don't have to totally repaint them, but we'll see. Okay, I got really quiet there for a second. That was a little bit scary. Let me see. No, I'm not seeing any new questions, so that's fine. So, but I'll just talk about what I'm doing, or tell you about things that I'm doing. Right now, I am trying to get through a deadline during my day job, so I have a little bit more time to paint. I'm a little backed up. I have 6 or 7 commissions that I have to get done in a fairly short amount of time. I want to leave some space for my Christmas season, which usually starts around the beginning of November, where I start to get orders for Christmas. I do have one commission right now that's supposed to be delivered before Christmas. The other ones are just first come, first serve, and I'll get them done as in a reasonable amount of time. And I'm starting to get a little bit more time from my deadlines at work so I can start painting again in the evenings. And this is one. This is one I'm doing, painting in the evening. Okay, starting to adjust the shape of the head more. See these very white strands of hair that come in. And to get white, you have to surround it by darker colors for the white to read. And she does have some darker tones coming in from the shadows of her locks of hair. Let's start to create the separation between the her lashes and her eyelid, the crease of her eyelid. So I didn't really have that indicated yet. And just trying to get them in with a steady hand. Okay. So let me see. Susan says, "Thank you. This is terrific. So glad I stumbled on your account. Love the encouragement as well. It makes me feel like I can do this with practice." Yes, it's all about practice. Um, Hundreds and hundreds of portraits. Each one, each 100 portraits you do, you'll be 100 portraits better. It's the only way to get there, really. There's no, I mean, good teachers help. If you can find good information about anatomy or how to use your materials, how to mix color, that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about practice. Your painting experience is can't be replaced by other things to some degree. You just have to be painting. Anyway, for those who may have come late on Instagram, if you're watching this, if you want to see both me and the resource image and the painting all at once, then go to my YouTube channel. Go to AJ Alper is the channel. You can actually get there from the link in my bio, and then you look for this live demo that's currently going on. I had it all set up so that you could swipe up from a story and get right to this demo, and then for some reason I screwed it up. It's supposed to be a timed thing where the feed starts when I click on. So they removed this button from YouTube. It's really stupid. There was a button that says "Go live now," and they removed that. It's just whenever the feed is coming in, then it just automatically clicks over to live, and I didn't know that. So I ended up having to shut down the video early and then creating a new one. And in the process, then I more or less broke the link that came from Instagram. Anyway, long story short, if I've turned the camera on so you can watch me on Instagram, I mean from my phone, but you can also watch me from my webcams that I have set up with software called OBS, which allows me to live stream from several cameras so that you can see, and I can put graphics in it too, so you can see the, yeah, I gotta make that the bottom of that ear higher on this side because her head's tilted. Her ear comes to about around the tip of her nose, and on the other side it's on the same level as the bottom of her nose. So those are sort of good indications that help me. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so I have several two webcams set up, so now you can see me, you can see the painting. I can look right into the camera and wave. Although next time I'll probably adjust the camera angle a little bit so I'm looking more into it. I think there's something nice about being able to see someone talking as they're talking. It helps with comprehension because you can see their lips moving and stuff. And plus, you get to see my lovely face, and I know I'm so attractive, and that will get me so much more watch time. I don't know if that's true or not. So let me see. I don't think I see anything new in the feed in YouTube. I have how many people are on here? 12 on YouTube. I have 20 on Instagram. And I have a new question. It is, do you ever paint in acrylics or exclusively in oils? Yeah, I haven't painted in acrylics since art school. About 30, probably about 33 years since I've used acrylics. Um, and not interested in going back. Um, when I started painting in oils, it's like you just know certain things when you meet the medium that you're going to be painting in the rest of your life. You just know, you have that feeling deep down inside that you've met the one. Oil paints, and then since then, it's been my only medium. Okay, so I've dabbled around in watercolors a little bit, but that's just because I was traveling and couldn't get my oils to where I was going. So watercolors had to do. But that was that. Okay, now I can start to see where things are off a bit. I can start to refine things little by little. Move the edges of the lips around, the corner of the face, etc. And you got to be willing. You got to be willing to change things. You can't say, "Oh, that's a perfect eye. I've never painted an eye so good." But if it's in the wrong spot on the face, you got to paint it over. If you did it good once, then you just get good. If you're confident enough to move things around, then you just get better at repainting the stuff, and a perfect eye ends up being okay, a pretty good eye, and that's. But what's more important is having a really good portrait, right? And having things work together, and so you need to be able to move those things around. Okay, I'm starting to feel her expression, the likeness a little bit. It's taking a while to get there, but I'm starting to feel it. She's got that darker color coming in underneath her lower, the flap of her nostril. Let me just make sure I have the height of her nose in the right place. Right there. Yeah, that's pretty close. And hopefully the eyes are close. Sorry about that. The eyes are close. Okay. And the width of the eyes. I tend to make eyes too big, but that's okay. You can never get into too much trouble by making children's eyes too big. And I'm just going to indicate a little bit of the hands. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to really get too far on the hands tonight, but I just kind of want to get a feel of where they are. Hi, Pasha. You should see Pasha. He stands up on his hind legs next to me on the chair, and then he kind of taps me on the arm with his paw, like, hey, hey, notice me. I'm here. Pet me, play with me, let me outside, give me food. Okay, and there's some foreshortening going on the arm here, so it's important to get some of those measurements right. And I can sort of black in some general color where the arms are. Just kind of get an idea. There's a lot of orange going on there. Okay, don't chew on that, Pasha. Okay, that sort of just gives me a little bit of an idea. Okay, now I gotta do a lot of squinting. Gotta build up the whites up here on the cheek. Make it feel like it's in front of the rest of the cheek that drops off into shadow. Start to build it up, give it a sense of volume. Okay, I lost some of my purple there in the by repainting the mouth. I got to build up her chin a little bit, which I lost. Okay, starting to have a likeness. Okay, let me see. May have missed some questions here. What types of people are your favorite subjects for portraits? Men, women, old, young, etc. I think more than anything, I've painted younger women, but I think that's just because of the pure availability of good reference photos by younger women because they take so many, as a demographic, take so many more selfies than anybody else. So I guess maybe um, there's that factor where when I post younger women to Instagram, I get so many more likes than, let's say, older men. Children tend to get a fair amount of likes, but mostly when I'm posting younger women, I do get a lot a lot more likes and follows. My audience is by percentage is much higher female than male, about 60% female, and only about 23% of my audience is in the United States. The rest is spread out from around the world. The five largest cities, or I mean, follow the five um, largest population of my followers are in um, these five cities: New York, London, Tehran, Istanbul, and London, New York, Tehran, Istanbul, and gosh, I forgot what the fifth one is. But it starts to give you an indication that I have a lot of followers too in the Middle East. Okay, still not getting quite the right shape to her jaw yet. I think it just comes in steeper here. And then I think her chin is even shallower, like that. Okay, no, I'm not seeing new questions. That's fine. I mean, here's one. These photos with filters on make seeing values of the skin so hard, so we'll try adjusting on my phone first. Yeah, I try to avoid ones that are been heavily filtered because then you lose your range of colors, even if you're able to adjust the values. Okay, now, gosh, I have so much adjusting to do. I need to find a medium-sized brush here because I'm going back and forth between a fairly large brush and a detail brush, and I feel like I just need something in between. I need to buy new brushes here soon because mine are so beat up. Okay. Okay, gonna get a little bit of the color in the pupils. Let's see if I can find that color. Just wiped out that highlight, no big deal. Can always repaint it. Gonna restate the pupil. Can use pretty much the same color in the other eye. They're not that different. Okay, and can come in with a black dot for the pupil here. That's a little bit better. And I have to kind of get the curve of the upper eyelid right because I don't have that quite right yet. I think around the getting the shape of the eyes right is really going to help me here. Okay. Where do you place your reference image? It's honestly one of the hardest things for me. If it's too far to the side, I made mistakes very easy. So I have my reference image. I don't know if you can see it. I can probably pick this up just for a minute so you can see. Oh, well, you asked the question in YouTube and you're not going to be able to see this, but you can see in Instagram that I have the image and the painting right next to each other. They're the exact same size. And so I can easily look back and forth between the two and see where I am. And let's see if I can get this back to the same place. Not too bad. Come on. I really got to fix this. I totally broke it before this. Um, this thing isn't. It's a cheap phone mount. YouTube. I'll get off of Amazon, and you get what you pay for. But I was just too much in a rush trying to get everything set up for this, and I just pulled the screw right out of it, out of the mount. Okay, trying to get that little what do you call that? The depression around the corners of the mouth. I don't even know if there probably is a name for it. I know visually what it is. I don't really have words sometimes. But getting those little features in the face right and feeling like things are turning the way that you see them in the photo really does help bring the portrait to life in a sense. There we go. Then this comes down a little bit more. So now I start to feel that. When you can start to feel the planes of the face and the flesh turning, um, then you know that you're getting the values to work for you. And then things that didn't look like they were in the right place start to fall into place because you can start to see and feel the flesh. Got an orange here underneath her nose, so I'm trying to get that in. Okay, sorry about the silence there. Okay, what do I have? I have 15 people here on Instagram and I have 11 on YouTube. Thank you all for sticking with me through this very disorganized painting demo. It's getting a little bit better now. I think we're starting to feel the character of her face slowly as I'm refining some things. So I'm really trying to get after the sort of that porcelain feeling of her skin, which may be going a little bit more purple or blue in some of these shadows. Let's get this wedge up here, this shape, which is sort of giving you a greater feel of where her hairline is. Okay, and I'm going to pull her neck up, her shoulders up a little higher. So they really are up about there. So it doesn't feel like her head's just floating in space there. So, really good likenesses and faces in general, painting faces. The placement of things are so important. I've realized that it's not good enough just to have something really close to where it needs to be. Often you have to go back and find the exact spot where it needs to be for something to read properly. And that is can be really frustrating because it can be so close and something can be off by just like a millimeter, and it can be throwing everything off, and you just don't even realize like how um, how subtle the, a move, a change really makes a difference. And so that's why I think that's why it takes a long time to get really good at this, because you have to be able to have the finesse to be able to get something exactly in the right spot for it to work. And it takes a long time to get there. I'm still not there. Just so you know, I'm not there where I get things in the right spot quite yet. I'm going to pull the bottom of her ear lobe up even a little bit higher. And just get a little bit darker color along the bottoms. Okay, coming in with a lot of white and yellow right here in her hair. Just a whole lot of white. Coming in pretty thick now. And then, even the shape of her hair is so important, as this is too far out. And I'm probably going to come in with like a purple for the background. Let's see if I can take care of that now. Okay, purple. Just going to mix up a bunch of it. So I have dioxazine purple. It's like the strongest color in the universe. Just a little bit. And then I need to put a lot of white with it. Where's my white? I had a whole tube out. Did I put it away? White, white. No, you're here. Ah, found you. Okay, and I used titanium white. For a while I was trying radiant white, I think it's called, or brilliant white. I think it's radiant white, and that's a gambling color again. And that's essentially the same as titanium white, but instead of linseed oil, it's mixed with safflower oil, and so it just gives it that much more coolness. Since linseed has just a touch of yellow, affects the colors slightly warmer, and so when you use the linseed oil, which still probably, sorry, the safflower oil, which probably does have a little bit of yellowing in it, it's just not as much as, okay, adding a little bit of blue to that color that I'm using for the background. Okay, I wish you could see this. It's just a whole pile of white with just a touch of purple and blue. So that's the color. Can you see that color change? That's the color that I'm going to use for almost the whole background. And I'm going to vary it a little bit, but right now I just want to kind of get it down. Probably could use a bigger brush for this. But this is going to help me because it sets, essentially what I'm seeing is white in the photo. It sets it as a darker value. So I have more room to paint lights and whites in the face to have them come forward. Just want a little bit more kind of greeny color. Maybe a touch of yellow will do it. Oh yeah, that's the color. That is the color I want. Sort of somewhere between blue and purple, but with a little bit of that yellow in there to give it a little bit of warmth. And that's also helping me because it's knocking out all that white of the panel so I can see my values a little bit better. Okay, that's looking better. And then this really does sort of fade off to white in this upper corner, so just going to get more white in my mixture, maybe go in thinner. And this is almost pure white now. There. And I get kind of more purpley as I get down to this bottom corner, purple and blue. And that's how you paint a background. All done. Okay. So now I can start to see things, values and shapes a little bit better. I have a little more muscle to be able to adjust my contours. Shoulder has to come up a bit higher. Now I'm using the same brush that I just mixed that purple, or the color of the background, to paint other things, but I gave it a good quick wipe, and then if I need it even cleaner, then I can wash the brush and wipe it really well, and then I have a fairly clean brush to put down newer colors. Okay, and this gets lighter here, cooler, and then starts to get a little purple towards the armpit here. Just trying to block in the general colors that I'm seeing. Okay, that's starting to feel better. Okay, not a lot of new questions. Maybe there were some in the feed here. Measuring everything, let me see if I can read that. Measuring is everything in painting portraits. Yes, it takes a long time to train the eye, mind, hand to work in tandem. I try to paint every day. That is a good attitude. The way you apply paint to the surface is exactly the way I enjoy painting. Very loose and wet into wet. Love it. Yeah, I am addicted to this way of painting. I don't think I could paint any other way. I kind of think of it as the equivalent of clay in when working in 3D versus to like chiseling away at something. The clay is so malleable and you can move it around so much until you get it to where you want. You can start off very loose and then tighten up as you go. And I love that aspect about oil paint. Now I think I need to throw in a little bit of indication of the eyelashes here just to kind of give it that, start to give it the feel that sort of, how do you explain it? I mean, she's cute, and you want it to play, but it also is part of the expression that you feel the eyelashes. Okay. Um, Let me see. I think I might have had new questions here. Hola, Vicky de Chile. Um, Nasolabial fold. Thank you. Someone's throwing in the term that I couldn't say. I think that's when I was talking about the corners of the mouth, but I think that sounds more like the part near the nose. I was never good at like those anatomical names in Latin, even though I've done tons of posts, anatomical posts on my page. I usually remember them for when I'm doing the post, and after that I forgot. I know you're. Let me see. What did that say? I know you only have one camera, but I'd love to see your color mixing before you paint. So the next demo that I do, I'll have everything set up. It'll have the color. It'll have me talk, reference photo. There'll be a live feed from Instagram and another one from YouTube, so people can choose which view they want. And then, um, then it will be perfect. My my life will be complete. Some blue, a little bit of blue coming in. There's just like a little bit of color around the folds of skin around the neck, catching some cooler light, or maybe just some perspiration. And I'm getting some of the background colors here, that sort of violets and purples in the skin tones. Let's go even whiter. And then a little bit of that even in the hand. Still trying to do the hand. So I'm about an hour and a half into this portrait and starting to have the feel. There's some funky things going on in the placement of things in the face. It's not quite there yet, but I am starting to get a feel of the likeness. So right now it just looks like a poorly done portrait. As I fine tune and tighten those things up, then I'll have both the likeness and the placement of things will feel right. The anatomy will feel right. Not quite completely there yet. So I like to say, like, the first hour or two, I'm a bad portrait painter. And then as time goes on, I get increasingly better. So, you guys, you just got to paint longer. That's the secret. I guess part of the secret is knowing what to do to make it better over time, not just keep on painting. But if you have the knowledge and the skills, then you should be able to make it better over time. Okay, I can see this cheek. I have to cut in higher. And the lip is dropping too low. And I'm just going to throw a little highlight on the lips here just so I can start to feel the wetness in the lips. Trying to get that darker edge underneath the chin. And again, her lips need to come up a little bit higher. I think the one that I did of her sister, I painted the lips too low initially, and then had to raise them up. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go on for another 20 minutes. So we have 2 hours in total. And that'll be a good place for me to stop and evaluate where I am and start to correct, be able to stand back and really start to correct things. When I'm sitting here on camera, it's a little hard for me to get up and I mean, I can, but it means that I have to stop painting for a little while and just start looking. And that's usually when I start to see things that are really off in the painting instead of just hacking away at it. Just to see if I can get this fine little shadow between the eyelid and the light of the eye. I think I'm close. I just made it a little too high. There, that's better. So, and I need to interface, so that means like knocking back some things quite a bit. So, nice little small reddish shape right here. It's not quite clean enough. There we go. Okay, I feel like I have to pull the bottom of her nose up just a little bit. Feels better. Okay, and in all that white is just this subtle orange reddish hue that's helping to define the sides of her forehead. Right here. Just pulling up her lip a little bit higher. So these are just all fine tuning until the placement of things, the shape of things start to look and feel right. Shape of her lip. Still see her teeth coming through. I'm going to make them a little bit higher. I'm going to catch a little bit of the darker red on the underside of her upper lip, so there's a little bit of definition between the lip and the teeth. And a little bit too purple there. Should be more orange. There we go. Oops. Now I just put a ton of white down right in the middle of my palette, which I usually don't do, but it gives me a lot of white to work with, and I'm seeing how that does make life a little bit easier. Okay, time to switch to my next bigger brush. Okay, went too light there. So Tricia says, "What a treat it was to see my favorite portrait painter in action. Thanks." And Ron says, "What type of canvas surface are you painting on? It looks like it's very smooth." This is a um, gessoed panel, hardboard panel. This particular one happens to be a Speedball Mona Lisa panel, but I also use ampersand, both their gesso boards and their smooth value series boards. And I almost always put a layer of my own gesso on it, even though it comes gessoed, because I like sort of that consistency of surface too that it gives me. I know every painting that I do, it has the same coat of gesso on it, so I have the exact surface to paint on every time, a very similar surface, and so I know how the brush and the paints react to the gesso. So just checking, sorry about my arm in front here, Just checking the distance between the corner of the eye and the bottom of the nose, and that looks about right. The distance between the corners of the eyes, I think I that looks about right too. It just is a matter of getting the shapes of the eyes and the details in the eyes right. That just takes a little bit of time back and forth to get it a little bit of greens in here. I always challenge myself to see the blues and the greens and the flesh tones because those are the hardest ones to see and the ones that people tend to leave out. And I like to make sure I get those in there. So that really gives more of a naturalism to the face instead of it looking like a store mannequin that only has like one flesh color. Okay, went a little bit too dark with that, so I can rub it out a little. There we go. Okay, I'm starting to see the sweetness in her face a little bit more now. Just slowly getting there. Okay, making those ears a little bit tighter to the head. Okay, let me see. Susan says, battery out. Beautiful way to spend my evening. Thank you. Oh, thanks for joining me. Okay, we're getting upon 10 o'clock. Just going to go a little bit further here. Try to get a sense of the swoosh of her hair here. Her hair is just so light all over. It's just really hard to get some definition in there. I'm missing this big curl, this bang that she has coming down. It's going to take a lot of white to get that. I think that helps. Okay, yellow, black, a little red to get the color of her eyebrow here. If you see me leaning back and squinting, that's just me trying to compare a little bit more to the photo. Trying to get some of these subtleties in her forehead. Okay, 5 more minutes here. Still working on the shape of her eyes. Missing a little bit of the top of her head, so I have to at least get that a little bit better defined. Let's go a little bit darker along her cheeks. That's better. Soften that up a little bit coming up. Okay, well, that's pretty good. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I will post this, probably some work in progress. I may do post a time lapse at some point, and then I'll post the finished work to my Instagram page. Once I get there, that should be in probably the next 3 or 4 days. Anyway, thank you all for joining me. I will do a better job with my technical difficulties next time. Hopefully, I've answered most of your questions. Let me see. I know you only have one camera, but I'd love to see the color mixing before you paint. Okay, I think I answered that question already. Oh, let me just answer a few questions that came in since before I hang it up. Does it matter about the quality of oil paints you use? I would say yes. Depends on what level your painter. I use very intense high key colors. I think that would be hard for a beginner to use because everything would be too intense. It would be very hard to harmonize. Um, what colors are in your palette? I have a high key color palette. You can see if you go through my portrait tips highlight, you can find the one that's about my color palette. And so you can find out the exact colors that I use there. Um, let's erase that one. Um, I think someone said hi. Hello. And here's one here. It's a little bit of a longer question. Is there any chance you could show some of your color mixing when you paint? I am very new to painting, um, and it's can't see the whole question, and it's something I struggle with, and I see, and okay, that's the whole question. I kind of cut off at the end. Um, yeah, so then when I do this next week, or the next few days, I will have a third camera set up so you can see the palette also. Um, how to make it more realistic? Question mark. I think by matching the values and colors that you see in the photo, or if you're a model, that helps create a sense of realism. If you're inventing a lot of color, it may be a more interesting painting, but sometimes you lose that sense, that realistic sense that you get. Um, and if you're like a tonalist painter, then probably having a lot less color helps with that sense of volume and making it feel more real. Okay, I pushed that out too far in one direction. Let's see if there was any more questions. I think that might have been the last one. Um, are you a full-time artist now? No, I still have a day job. I'm a web developer for the American Neurological Association. I do front-end web development and UI UX, and that takes up about 40 to 50 hours of my week generally. Lately, it's been 70 or 80, but I'm trying to cut that back a little bit, back to normal hours. And let me see, that was a treat, Susan. Okay, I think that's it. Have a great night, everybody. I will post again when I know when I'm doing this again. It will probably be in 3 or 4 days or so. So towards the weekend, maybe on Saturday or Sunday, I will try to have my all my technical issues worked out before then. So anyway, have a great night. And oh, someone says, do you have a YouTube channel? I'm on it right now. I'm on my YouTube channel, simulcasting. That's AJ Alper is my YouTube channel. This will be posted both to my YouTube channel and my Instagram IGTV channel for you to view it later. Uh, Okay. Hi, the painting of the picture or a live model. This is painting from a photo. I'll just show you real quick so you guys can see it again. So you can see them both together. So there's the photo and there's the painting. So you can see it's coming along quite a bit. She looks a little bit more purple than the photo at this point, but It's getting there. Anyway, have a great night. I'm going to sign off from Instagram first. Okay, I'm off of Instagram. I ended now. It's sharing to IGTV if anyone wants to see it there. And then, hold on. I've got to pick a better um, cover photo for my. Here you go. One with the hands not in front of the face. There we go. Okay. Next, and this is baby girl. Sorry, should have done this beforehand. Baby girl painting demo. And now I'm going to sign off from YouTube. Thank you all for joining me again. It's been a great time, and I'll be up again in a few days. Bye.